Good morning, I'm Graham Lewis, and in this video we're going to look at 3 ways to find the maximum or minimum of this quadratic function listed there. So firstly, we know that this function actually has a maximum because we can see here that the a number, which is minus 2, is smaller than 0, so we know the quadratic function looks like that, so it has a maximum value. The first method we're going to do is completing the square. So here we go. So I'm going to take out the negative 2 to make it easy. So I'll get an x squared minus 7 over 2x, and I'll just leave the plus 4 tacked on at the end, and we'll worry about that at the end. So now I just have to complete the square on x squared minus 7x over 2. So what you do is, remember, you halve the coefficient 7 over 2, because when you square that, you of course will generate 7 over 4x, giving you the minus 7 over 2x you want. But I've also generated something extra, and that's the square of minus 7 over 4, so I need to subtract 49 over 16. So that's just the square of minus 7 over 4, because I don't want that. What we're saying here is this here is equivalent to this here. So once we've got that, we can now put the minus 2 in. So I've got minus 2 times x minus 7 over 4 all squared. Negative 2 times a negative is a positive, and 49 over 16 times 2 will change to a 49 over 8. And I need to add 4 to that. So now it's just a simple case of adding these fractions. So I've got the minus 2, x minus 7 over 4 all squared, and 4 is obviously 32 over 8. So 49 plus 32 over 8, just doing that quickly, is 81 over 8. So now we can look at this, and we've completed the square. Now we know that we've got here something squared. So something squared is always 0 or positive. So something squared times a negative is always 0 or negative. So the maximum value of y must be 81 over 8 when x equals 7 over 4. So we've found the maximum value y when x is 7 over 4, and we've actually found the vertex of this parabola, which is clearly 7 over 4, 81 over 8. So that's the method of completing the square. If you're confident of completing the square, it's a really good method and one that I would recommend. Okay, now let's look at another method. Another method is actually to use the x-intercepts. So I'm going to try and find the x-intercepts, and then I know that if I can find, if it has 2 real x-intercepts, I know that the vertex will be halfway between the 2 x-intercepts by symmetry. So let's see if we can find them. Now we could use the quadratic formula, but we should always try and factor if it factors. Now I'm not very good at factoring with a negative out there, so I'm going to take out the negative and get a 2x squared minus 7x minus 4. Oh, and look, now I can see it factors, because I've got a 2x and an x. If I put a minus 4 there, I'll get the minus 8x, and add the 1, I'll get the minus 7x. And clearly I've got minus 4, so I've factored it quite nicely. So now let's do a quick sketch of this badger. So we know it's got zeros at minus a half, and the other 0 is at 4. And we know, as we discussed earlier, because a is negative 2, that it has a maximum, so it comes up like that and down, and there's its maximum. So the maximum value has to happen on the line of symmetry, which is halfway between the 2 intercepts, x-intercepts. So if we just add 4, add minus a half, and divide by 2, then I get 3.5 divided by 2, which is obviously 7 over 4. Okay. Now, so we've got where the maximum is occurring, x equals 7 over 4, but we don't know actually what the maximum is. We need to find this y value. So you can choose either to put it in star or cross. Now, it's up to you. Both are messy, both are disgusting. Not a big fan of this part of this one. I'm going to put it into the cross one there. So here we go. So let's just rewrite it. So we had that y equals negative 2x plus 1 times x minus 4. And I need to put in x equals 7 over 4. So here goes. Y equals, so 2 times 7 over 4 is 7 over 2 plus 1. And here I've got a 7 over 4 minus 4. So 7 over 2 plus 1 is 9 over 2. and 7 over 4 minus 4 is minus 9 over 4. You can use your calculator for that, or you can use fractions, and then multiplying that through gives me 81 over 8, agreeing with my answer by completing the square. So this could be a good method if you prefer this to completing the square. I'll let you decide which you prefer in that. This method won't always work. Try and think about when it won't always work. Firstly, it might be that it doesn't actually factor, and secondly, what if the graph actually looks kind of like that, and you're finding the minimum value, or it looks like that and you're finding the maximum value. It doesn't have any x-intercepts. Maybe that will be a bit tricky with this method as well. Okay, now on to the third method. Okay, this method relies on the use of the quadratic formula, x equals minus b plus or minus root b squared minus 4ac over 2a. Now, I just want you to look at this diagram here. I've drawn our quadratic and we've got our two roots, which we can get through the quadratic formula. And look, we know that it's symmetrical about its vertex. We know that about quadratics. Now, if you think about the quadratic formula, I've got the minus b over 2a here, and clearly I'm adding root b squared minus 4ac over 2a, or I'm minusing root b squared minus 4ac over 2a. And you can see really clearly that if I have the minus b over 2a here, and I add root b squared minus 4ac over 2a, it gives me the correct solution over on the right-hand side. And if I minus root b squared minus 4ac over 2a, it'll give me the correct solution there. So the line of symmetry must be on x equals minus b over 2a. And this actually works if they're complex roots, or equal roots, repeated, etc. So let's use this fact to solve this badger. Okay, so here we've got the quadratic equation again, and we know that the maximum or minimum, and this one has a maximum, occurs at x equals minus b over 2a. So my b is 7, so it's minus 7, and my a is minus 2, so it's minus 7 over minus 4, giving me the same answer as I got with completing the square and using the second method, x-intercepts, of 7 over 4. Now I've got that messy thing, and I have to put it back, and I've only really got a choice of putting it back into star because I haven't factored it. So now I have to find the y value. Not very nice. Minus 2 times 7 over 4 all squared plus 7 times 7 over 4 plus 4. Use your calculator or do fractions, and you'll get 81 over 8. So there's the third method of finding it. So choose your poison. Do you like completing the square? Do you like factoring or using the quadratic equations to find the intercept and going halfway? Or do you like using the symmetry here? So your choice. Good mathematicians, remember, choose the best method and have multiple ways of doing things. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and please watch some of my others if it helped you.